So anyway, Katie, we brought you on a little bit early.
Okay.
So but Katie, and your last name is pronounced Otey.
Odie,
Odie. Okay, Odie. Okay. Thank you for
Welcome to
being
the
a
show,
guest
Katie.
and
thank
welcome
you.
to the show.
Thanks.
And you're a children's author.
Yes, I am. I
And
mainly
your
write for children.
okay, and your latest book is, do you have a copy of it?
My latest book is not published yet. It's coming out in May.
Okay.
Um, called Izzy's Almost Epic Day. It's a middle grade book.
Okay.
Uh, and I do have a copy of my most recent picture book, Every Other Christmas, that came out in September of 2022. So,
Oh, okay. All right. Now hold that up again.
okay.
I like that this is the presents under the tree and they're doing Christmas decorations.
Yes, and if you open it all the way, you can see that
Oh, okay. Oh,
he al-
that's nice.
yeah, he alternates the Christmas holiday between the parents they're divorced. So he shows like what are the different traditions between my African American mother's family and my Colombian father's family. So it just touches base on a lot of children have to, alternate holidays. I did add another culture so that we can see that we're not all that different. We may do some things differently, but the core of who we are as humans is the same. So, and it's a
Oh,
very positive story.
that's a real innovative way of dealing with that topic. And it is more and more common um, with people getting divorced or just children not living with both of their parents. Then
Right,
you have to decide what you're going to do for the holidays. And
right,
not everybody will do what my husband and I did, which when my husband and I were both married before, but I didn't have any children by my first husband, and it was a brief marriage, and so he had three children by his first wife, and he had custody of his two sons when we got married, and we decided, and we had a good relationship with the ex-wife, so we decided we were going to have Christmas together
that's
every
amazing.
It's nice.
and we alternate who hosts it. So we've been married 31 years and we still do that.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that.
So with the grandkids now, with his grandkids, we had a daughter. She's 27, so she has the three siblings, and she doesn't call them step siblings. She just calls them her
Right,
brothers and sisters. But we have always had Christmas together. And we actually have Thanksgiving together too, most years. It made it easier because the kids didn't have to try to figure out whose house. They didn't have to try to spend 2 hours here, 2 hours there. It was just, and it worked because we had a good relationship. So,
right, right,
but not everybody's able to do that. And so I
right.
like
But
your book. It's really neat that
mm,
you have that as a theme.
yeah, I just really like to show my main thing when I write mainly is to show the positive. Um, I
Okay.
feel like as an African American reader, um, we get a lot of stories that are hard. Um, there's a lot of struggle in books that are made for us, and I feel like that we aren't just our struggle. We're more than that, and so I like to write the comedy or the love or the positive spin. Obviously, life is not just all fun and games, but it's definitely more than just struggle. So.
I'm very glad that more authors are embracing that because I think at one time it did seem like children's, at least Black children's books were always either trying to teach a lesson, trying to discuss the struggle, and I think when we do that, sometimes we miss the beauty of just being a child. And so
Right.
sometimes we have to show our kids that it's okay to just be. We don't always have to be the spokesperson for the race. We don't always have to be the historian or the teacher or the instructor. Sometimes we can just be kids. And
Exactly.
so I'm glad that you're embracing that.
Thank you. Thank you. That was the main theme for my middle grade book that's coming out. It does feature a black boy who's 11, and he just wants to have this epic day, but every hour, each chapter is 1 hour of his day. Something kind of goes awry, something goes wrong, but in a kind of like a comedic sense of the word. And he's not magical. There's nothing out of the ordinary. He's a kid who's having a day in middle school, and things are just like a little crazy, and his family is big, and it's just contemporary, it's real life but funny. And I think that if we did a little bit more of that, we can really help with our literacy rates. We get tired of reading about um, the struggle. It's just, I know as a young reader, I felt that way, and I hear that a lot. So.
When I was a young reader, I don't remember reading anything heavy. Of course, I was reading in earlier years, let me say that. But I don't now there weren't a lot of black books that I don't remember reading a lot of black books other than something that was truly history, but um I don't remember reading anything heavy. You know what I mean? And some people will say, well, it's real life. Well, children, they'll have time to live the real life, you know. When they're kids, let them be kids,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
because that's the only time they'll be able to be the, there's only one carefree time in your life if you're lucky enough to have stability at home. When
Right.
once you go to college and have to work, it's not carefree anymore. So,
It's not.
let
Reading,
kids be
let them
kids.
in a book.
Yeah,
It life can be hard for any child, no matter the race, but especially for Black kids in this country, it's there's a lot of lessons that they have to learn out in the world. And
Yes.
if I
yeah.
pick up a book, I don't want to relearn those lessons and relive that trauma. I want to escape, and I want, to see a character that I can actually be, that I can see myself living that life, or see myself as that character. And I want to escape and have fun and laugh and enjoy and see some of the things that I do with my family. In every other Christmas, there's a part where the family, the African American side of the family, they're around there's several scenes that were very important to me.
Okay.
But there's one scene where they are line dancing to the Temptations, uh,
Yes.
the Temptations, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and you can see like everyone's, dancing.
Oh,
That's a song that we hear, and it's just a fun moment. And then when he's with his Colombian family, they're dancing to, some merengue, or, something else like that. But he fits in no matter where he goes. And then there's food. You have the table where they're holding hands, and they're going to say their prayer, and they're eating the fried chicken and the macaroni and cheese and the cornbread, and, foods that we like when we're celebrating. That should feel normal. Um, and so I did read a lot. I read a lot, a lot. And most of the characters that I read growing up, they were white characters. If I read a black book, usually it was some type of lesson. It was, you know, um, let me learn about this black person, or let
right. It
me
was history.
about my skin or my hair, that type of thing. And it's just kind of like, can we just be like funny?
Hey, I saw the
Li-
face.
Lighten it up a little bit. It doesn't
Very,
have to be heavy, you
it
know.
doesn't. And so that's just what I bring. And the reason why I kind of concentrate on that is because I just want to to give that little bit of joy and wonder to someone who reads my books.
Yeah.
So do you think that you're going to remain in the children's author space, the children's book space?
I like to write for everyone. Um, I write poetry. I have written a young adult manuscript. So I do want to write for adults. I just like to tell stories. I love telling stories. And writing for children is kind of like a nod to my five children and, how funny they are and watching them grow up and just their antics. But I definitely want to write for adults as well. And it will.
So what are your children's ages? What's
My
the
youngest now
range?
is Jace, he's 14. Um, he's my youngest, and then Isaiah is just turned 18. Then Jacqueline is 23, and then we have AJ who is 25, and then my beautiful stepdaughter Jonassy, she did pass away in April, but she was 28. So
Oh, I'm
and
sorry for your
and she
loss.
thank you. She's always, we don't do step this and that.
Hmm.
She's my daughter, and I have a beautiful relationship
Daughter's
with
your
her
daughter.
mom still. And so, yeah, the my Izzy book features the five children in the story are fashioned after my children. Yeah, they're fictional characters, but I gave them, the same quirks. And so it really hits home that this is getting published and it's a nod to them. Some of the things that they did when they were growing up that I found hilarious. And I kept notes on them throughout the year. So I can't wait for it to be released and see how it's received.
So who did your illustrations in that every other Christmas book? The illustrations look really beautiful.
Very
Thank
detailed.
you. Yeah, she did a great job. Her name is S.J. Winkler. She's someone that I met in writing group. And so the publisher who published this book, I didn't publish it myself. Sky Pony
Okay.
Press published it. And they asked me, which is rare, do I have an illustrator? I'm like, absolutely. So she actually drew a lot of the characters to represent my family. So that was
Okay.
like an extra special little twist. So most of my family, they can recognize who they are in the story. But she did a great job. And she also illustrated the first book that I published through my own publishing company called Sister, which is a
Okay.
foster adoption story. She did a beautiful, amazing job. And it actually got what's called a Kirkus Star review. So it was like, for
Oh
that to
yeah, I
be
know
my
about
first,
Kirkus.
my
Hmm.
first book published on my own, got a Kirkus Star.
Oh,
Um, so even though I didn't write that book, I had a big hand in, developing it, and it was a proud moment.
okay. Yeah, that's really, really nice. What did you say the sister book was about?
It's a
Adoption?
foster to adoption story. It's about a
Okay.
family
Okay.
decide to become foster parents, and how the child feels when children come in the home, and then she gets close to them, but then they're reunified with their first families, which is the point of foster care.
Mhm.
And just dealing with that emotion between the child and the parents, and then the last child that comes in that they foster, they wind up adopting, and she becomes a sister and gains a sister. So, and that was written by Leah M. Johnson. So
Okay. Yeah, well, that's definitely a timely story.
it
Very,
Very
is.
time.
very, very relevant to today
It,
and
a
much
lot of
needed.
a lot of talk about what people should be doing, with their bodies and should they have babies and what if they can't take care of them and you need foster parents for people who can't and then that it's not as easy as it seems. It's definitely needed, but Leia takes a community approach. Like we are all one community and we need to look out for one another. And so she's writing a book that we will be publishing from the adult side, like her own journey as a foster parent for adults. But this was her nod to needing this type of story in the children's book world that actually dealt with humans and not just animals and things like that. So
Yeah, we have a lady at our church that fosters newborns, like babies whose mothers, some of them were, addicted to something,
Right.
and she would keep them until they found an adopted family. But this last one she kept. I think she's like 6 now, 6 years old now.
Oh,
But she said she would have separation anxiety.
it's
After she would have when you have a baby and you really get attached,
right.
it would be
It's
challenging.
definitely difficult. And then if you have children, those children have those big emotions and they don't know how to process them. And that's why we felt this story was important to put out there. So
Right. Now, for your every other Christmas book, what made you pick Columbia as your uh, the other side of the family?
for several reasons. I had close ties to Colombia and a lot of Colombian friends. I also feel like Colombia kind of doesn't get the best representation in media. Every time you hear about Colombia, it's the cartel or Pablo Escobar or cocaine or it's just kind of like how I feel like when the Cosby Show came out, everyone was like, "Well, is that really realistic?" Like, yeah, Black people have jobs and families and you know standards, and we need to put more in the media that shows that. And so, I feel like it's the media's responsibility on how we portray our fellow humans, and so that was a big reason why I chose Columbia, in addition to my close ties.
Okay. Well, I like the cross-cultural aspect of it,
Thank
and
you.
that you had it on the cover, on the front and the back. That's really
Yeah,
neat.
yes,
Now,
I
is
thought
that
that,
a hardcover or is it a is
every
it
other
printed
Christmas.
on the book or is it a sleeve?
This is the sleeve,
Okay. Okay.
but it's also printed on the book.
Oh,
Oh, very
okay.
pretty. Okay.
Okay, very
So,
nice.
so you have the hardbacks and the soft covers?
For every other Christmas, it's just in hardcover. For Sister, is in both. So
Okay.
yeah. And then Izzy's Almost Epic Day. That's just going to be a paperback book, middle grade book.
Okay, now
Okay,
do
so
you
now the new book you said is going to be released in May.
It's going to be released in May. It's up for pre-order on my website, Phoenix Media and
Okay,
Books.
and we did put your website in the chat.
Okay,
So guys, go to the website, click on the website. Let's pre-order this book.
please. Pre-orders are so important.
And
Um,
they absolutely are.
so do you have a background as an educator or you just like writing, reading and writing?
I'm going to be honest. I was a teacher. I taught algebra. I
Okay.
have
Well,
I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, and
okay.
I'm in love with numbers and letters, so I'm a little strange. I've always loved to read. I learned how to read when I was 3, and books were a big part of my upbringing, but I never even thought about being an author. It wasn't something that you were guided to a lot of the time. And so math was my second love, and I taught that for a while. But I've always told stories and written stories. I've written 10 books, 12 books so far, and I'm just getting around to, after kind of fighting with the traditional publishing market and overcoming a lot of the bias about what types of stories I can write. I decided to open my own publishing company because I'm like, I'm not going to keep having this argument about the types of stories I want to write, and what they think would sell to my people or anyone. My stories are for anyone, but they're going to prominently feature Black people doing, living out loud, and anyone
Mhm.
can read those stories. So,
Yeah, it's amazing how that industry, which is dominated by non-Black people, they feel empowered to tell us what Black people will read. And I just find that to be ballsy. Excuse me, but I just think that is,
it's
really audacious in a negative way. I just, so I didn't go that route either. Just because I don't want I know what I want to write. I know what I want to say. I know how I want to say it. I know about editors, but I'm a good writer, and I know if only 5 people like my story, I would be happy with that. But it just so happens all of my books sell every month. So, and my new book is really
Five
doing
people
well.
like your book. If only
Hmm?
5 people like your book, and they have come to expect a certain quality from that book, then you've got to make those 5 people happy because they're expecting a certain quality from your work. And you got to respect those people. So I like that piece of it.
Yeah, and not every book is going to sell 1 million copies. In fact, hardly any sell that many. So, finding your audience or people who appreciate your subject matter is important. And you have to get out there and you have to get it in front of people.
Yes.
You have to be able to sell your book. You have to be able to pitch your book when you're in person with people also. But book clubs are a good avenue for novels. Um, and it's all kinds of different ways you can find readers. So, but I didn't want somebody to end it because I knew that's what they would say. That, well, this won't work or whatever. Yes, it will work. It's just a matter of the person who is behind it. Do they believe in it?
And
So,
a lot,
I
yeah,
believe in my work. So, you know.
a lot of the time, one thing I realized, I entered the professional writing world in 2012. I joined the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and they're like the industry organization for children's book writers. And I had a very strong work ethic, and I still do. And I went to all kind of conferences, and my writing just improved, and I just could not get further. I couldn't get past the gatekeepers of the industry. I did finally land an agent, but she was someone I knew, who became an agent, and she loved my writing. But I think the eye opener for me was I entered a diversity contest, and in that contest, you submitted a writing sample, and if they liked it, you got to go to the agent round, and the agent would either sign you or they would give you critique, which is a big deal because it's so hard to get, any type of critique.
Mhm.
And I entered a book that I wrote about a Black genie who had an attitude. She was tired of bringing witches. It was a comedy. And, it's my favorite story. And I thought it was hilarious. And it made it. It made it to the agent round. And I was like, I cannot wait to see either A, if they're going to offer to sign me finally, or what good information I'm going to get. And I got this like harsh rejection.
Hmm.
And the rejection was that this is not the degree of marginalization we're looking for. And I was like, what?
The degree of marginalization.
Right. It wasn't Black enough.
Okay,
And
now so now they're saying it in a different way. That's why and
Right.
I don't care what label people want. I am not marginalized. I will not accept a label that says I cannot be the best thing in the world. I just
right.
won't accept it. But it's always a label people want to put on us that says we're less than. And
It's
I just won't. I just won't accept it. I'm not knocking whoever believes they're marginalized. I'm not
well,
knocking it, but
I've
I'm
said
not marginal.
I've said it before on this show, and I'll say it again. I don't believe that anybody should be marginalizing us, including us. I think
Right,
sometimes we marginalize ourselves. We
right,
put certain boundaries on ourselves.
right.
That's
We put limits on ourselves. That was something we
I
can't do.
don't like
Now,
that.
Katie, you said you love math and numbers, and my daughter loves numbers. She took calculus. She aced calculus. She took it 3 times. She loved it so much. She took it in 11th grade, 12th grade, and freshman in college. She loved it so much, and she's an accountant. She loves numbers, and a lot of times people will say it's uncommon, but it's just if you are good at something and then you get the encouragement, you get the support. You don't get the rejection or somebody telling you, well, maybe you should look for something different because people like you don't succeed. That's nuts. So I never listen to naysayers if they try to whisper in my ear. I reject all negativity. I can't live my life with not everything that I do is an A like A, but I put forth an A effort.
Right.
And I get really close if I don't make it all the way. I get really close. So,
Well, you have to fight for what you know to
oh, you muted
Someone
yourself.
else.
You
sorry.
muted.
You
Okay.
have to you have to fight for what you know to be true. With that person that said that to me, we did talk and she apologized. She thought that I was a white woman sneaking into a diversity contest. And we talked about why she thought that. And one of the things was she said that she saw my name was Katie and she assumed that I wasn't black. And I was just
Golly.
you're gonna unpack why you think these things. And this is what I'm talking about with media. Like if we
Yes.
are in charge of telling our stories, we're gonna get the gaze of people who don't really know who we are. And we are like again, we're not in a box.
No.
My just because I'm black doesn't mean I'm just like you. I have different things that I like.
Hmm.
Um, and we do have a culture, but we are not limited to that. We are, the sky is the limit. I have one son who loves to learn languages. He's taught himself Japanese. He's learning Russian, French, Spanish, all like he just studies languages. Um,
Well, good for him.
I have one child who can play like 7 instruments.
Wow.
Um, we are just different. And we need people who are making decisions, publishing our stories, if we're gonna or doing it ourselves, that
Right.
understand that is it's ridiculous. And we talked about it. She did apologize, and I just said that hopefully this is a lesson that the next time you are in a position of making decisions for someone else, that you think about your bias before you say something like that, or you basically blocked my opportunity just because you didn't take 2 seconds to go to my profile, or you thought that I should write a certain way because of who I am, when in reality, I just like writing comedy. So you're
She let
not
her assumptions affect what could have been your future.
exactly,
It's based on her assumption.
exactly. And I'm not going to even villainize her. I said that this is something that you now have learned. And I hope that this is a lesson that will open doors for whoever comes behind me. I mean, you can't work with me now, but for the next person, you won't do that. And it's also a lesson for me. So when I acquire manuscripts to publish, I want to know what is the reason you are publishing this book. What is your what is your why? Because I care about that. I care about why you're telling the story, you know, and how it's going to connect to the reader.
Yeah, unfortunately, the gatekeepers in the publishing world, they have some, they're very myopic. They have extreme biases.
Yeah.
And they just, unless they've seen it before, they don't have any vision either. So it's everything has to be like what's already been done until somebody shows that they can do something different. Then they jump on that. So historical fiction that featured Black people was very limited for a long time. A lot of it centered around slavery, which I like. I like historical fiction in that period. But
Mhm.
a lot of the historical fiction that's coming out now is well beyond that. It's more in the 100 years between.
Hmm.
Like the guest we had on earlier in the show, it's the 100 years between emancipation and civil rights. Because that period, really, that 100 years really hasn't been covered very well um, in
Right.
fiction, and now it is, which is really um, very welcome in the industry.
I love to see what our contributions are. I love that we get to touch on that. So many of our contributions were hidden, and we don't even know what we've done to contribute to the growth. Well, we know about slavery, But beyond that, the inventions and the big and even small things that we've done to contribute to the growth of this nation and the important role that we play as citizens. So I think that again, those stories are important. But the fact remains that 85% of our youth do not read at grade level. And that's a problem because what are we putting in front of them that they're not wanting to read? It's not about the capability, it's about the desire. I wouldn't want to read, there's a disconnect and I think it's up to us to who publish books and write books that we work hand in hand with those who are trying to make a difference to raise those literacy rates because obviously if we can't read,
Right.
it's a
But reading
detriment.
is the foundation for everything.
And
Exactly.
I think
Even
also,
math, because
mm,
you can't do a word problem if you can't read. You can't do a math word problem if you can't read.
yeah, I think it also goes back to what we were talking about with assumptions. When we expect more from our kids, they usually live up to that. But if we
Yes.
assume that they can't do it and we kind of dumb down the curriculum because we think that's what's going to be on their level, they'll live up to that. So we just have to keep expecting the best or expecting the best and the most from our kids.
Exactly. We are excellent and we have excellence in us. And as a teacher, I expected that from my students. Um, and if they came to me and, if they were hungry, hey, here's a snack. But we're doing algebra today. And we're gonna work through this because this is what your education is your ticket. It's your ticket.
Yeah, it's really your ticket to life, really,
Yes, gotta have it.
the rest of your life.
Well,
So
Katie,
what grade level did you teach at?
6 through 9. 6 through 9.
Okay.
And then I left teaching. It was a hard decision. And I went into government work. And then now I'm just a full-time writer.
Oh, you're a full-time writer. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
well, Katie, unfortunately, we've reached the end of the interview. We actually were able to interview a little while longer since we
Mhm.
were able to bring you on a little bit longer. So that's always cool.
Thank
But if you can just remind us how we can reach out to you, remind us about the current book and the book that's coming out in May.
Yes. You can reach me. I have a author website, Katie Otey Writes, KatieOteyWrites.com. My book that's coming out in May is called Izzy's Almost Epic Day. And if you want to follow me as a publisher, it's Phoenix Media and Books.com.
Phoenix Media and Books. Did you give us that one so I can put that in the chat real quick?
I may not have, but you know what? It's on my Katie Odie Writes website.
Okay,
It's
so
all
we got
linked.
that one on there. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for joining us tonight. Congratulations on your success. Oh, okay. Since you just gave it in the chat, I will put it into the Facebook chat.
Thank you.
But yeah, congratulations on your success, and best wishes to you in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye bye.